Yeah, baby, it's a Friday night. Special edition of Double Dropkick Podcast coming to you live through the power of your internet. Welcome in around the world, wherever you are watching. We're so glad that you have joined us. Got a great special guest tonight, Groovy G, the big dog, creator of the Groovy G, Big Gold, and owner of Groovy G Replica Belts.com. Got to check it out. Incredible price, incredible detail. Good dude in the hobby. We're going to talk with him in just a few minutes. Whether you're watching this live tonight or you watch this, as many of you do around the world, watch it afterwards, we're so very appreciative and thank you for taking the time out to watch this program. It means an awful lot to us, being 7 months old here on Facebook, YouTube. And we hit another milestone. We'll talk about that tonight. We've also got a special giveaway for tonight. You don't want to miss that giveaway. I know we're going up against Raw. Just turn it on in the background because you don't want to miss tonight. It's going to be a fun night with a fun guest. And, man, what a day in the hobby, huh? It never ceases to amaze me, the stuff that happens in this hobby. But I got to bring on my guest co-host of Double Dropkick Podcast. Y'all know me, KEV Kev. And my main dog, partner in crime, Mr. Ethan Thompson. What's up, buddy?
I want to go out and I want to put a public statement out first. before any lives are made about me or anything like that. I seen about post. I was sleepily scrolling through Facebook, and I seen about post where somebody painted the Legends logo red. Oh, because this was my interpretation, because I've seen people do it before. This is somebody did a Razor tribute, so I just logically thought somebody did it red.
Okay, gotcha.
I was like, hey, looks like a nice shot belt. Oof. Did I light a match? So yeah, we'll touch on that later. But yeah, good luck.
Also tonight, just as we get ready to let Groovy G, we'll spend an hour with Groovy G. Right towards the end, we got another special guest that's going to come on with us some exciting announcements. You don't want to miss that. He is another Australian mate. God, I probably butchered that, didn't I?
You did.
We'll bring our main man on here in just a little bit too. But also, don't forget, it's a special episode. So when it's a special episode, we have our main man, H-A-M-M-E-R, Hammer. What's up, buddy?
What's
going on, everybody? It's great to see you guys on a Friday night. This is new. This is different. What's up?
Yeah, well, Friday night. We usually, our special episodes usually happened on a Saturday because our regular show's on a Tuesday. But now our regular show is not on a Tuesday anymore. I'm screwing this all up again today. They have messed up the software on this. We usually our show is usually on Tuesday nights. We have moved to Saturday nights. Will be our regular podcast night. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern is when our new show is, and we'll still have some special edition episodes, and they might be any night of the week, and you'll get those notifications and everything like that. But I do want to make sure, hey, if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and then you got to comment and be a part of the show. We love your comments because your comments are part of the show. This show is about you, for the hobby, about the belt hobby and wrestling, and we love having you in when you comment, and we're greatly appreciative when you do that. So if everybody will pause right now, just scroll down, do one thing for me, click that like right now. Everybody can see it. Just scroll down a little bit, click that thumbs up. That's all I ask for you to do. If you don't want to comment, no problem. Just enjoy and enjoy the show. Get away from this crazy world for the next hour and maybe and a half here as we do it. But we did want to say a big thank you to y'all, because we just crossed another milestone yesterday, and this is for you guys. A little thank you. How awesome. Thanks to each and every one of you guys. 1,500. Thank you so very much. Pushing onward, going to hit 2,000. We thank you so very much for that. And remember, our new shows now are on Saturday nights. Not this Saturday. Not this Saturday, because we already had our Tuesday show. That was our last Tuesday show. So it won't be a show tomorrow. Won't be a show Tuesday, but a week and a day from now will be our first episode of the new time frame, 8 p.m. Saturday. And we have a big guest from Instagram, Wrestling World Express off of Instagram. Big time dude over there. We're going to have him on. It'll be an exciting part of that. But we thank you guys, each and every one of you, taking the time out to enjoy this program. We love each and every one of you. Hey, we give away a lot of stuff and have a whole lot of fun, as we're noticing that our guest limo has pulled up. He has pulled up to the DDK Club. We'll get him into the makeup here, and we'll have him on here in just about a minute. He is getting all and ready, getting diaper dandy. Remember, he is joining us live from Australia. It is 1 p.m., I think, there. So we'll have some fun with him. But make sure you guys join me on over there on Instagram, Double Dropkick Podcast on Instagram. I am joined up over there. We give away and have some fun stuff over there. And I'm on X, DDK Podcast on X. So join them up over there, and we'll have a great time. And also make sure you check out Stephen Hammer's Big Time Review channel. Stephen Hammer Wrestling Review. Just check him over there on YouTube. Join up, watch up, support him, support guys in the hobby that do great, great things. And also make sure you check out C4 Authentic Belts and C4AuthenticBelts.com, the only ones who's a partner with Crum Ryan. Make sure you check them out. Great, great guy. He'll join us later. So make sure you check him out. He is a great guy, great friend. I like him a lot. So check him out over on Facebook and on the World Wide Web, C4AuthenticBelts.com, taking you back to like it's 1986. But today, it's all about an affordable, great making big gold, a guy that I understand Playgirl magazine is really after to try to get him to model nude with his Groovy G. We're going to talk to him about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the comments, let's give a great welcome to our special guest tonight, live from down under, where they just got done with a big old. They don't call them a hurricane down there; they call them typhoons, I think. But they just got done with that, so we're glad he's okay and everything. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Groovy G. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm very well. Yourself?
I'm doing great, mate. How are you? Do you hate when people do that to you?
No, I love it. Look, as long as you're having a go, you're an honorary Australian. Everyone can do their best or worst impression. It doesn't matter. Everyone's welcome here in Australia.
I suck at impressions, man. I'm just an ugly dude on the internet trying to get by each and every day. We're so glad that you've joined us tonight, and we want everybody to pay special attention right now. We're not going to give it away just yet. Pay a special attention to Groovy G's outfit. Okay, there's going to be a question involved in that outfit. Look at that belt, God.
Ooh.
I had a Milliken one in my collection, and I need to get another NWA one so bad. But pay attention.
This one is a classic Shields.
Oh, it is? It's beautiful. Beautiful curve on it.
It's based on the one that the new NWA uses.
The beefy version, right? Yeah.
The big one, real big one with the big grommets as well too. So that'll hopefully give you a little bit of a clue. But if you can guess who I'm dressed up as, we'll ask the question. So pay attention to that, and we'll talk about what it is. But we're not going to do it to the end of the show. So you got to make sure you stick around. So turn that raw down a little bit. Pay attention to the show. Watch and enjoy. But we're so glad to have you. We've wanted to get you on the show. We love having guys that are creative, who do things, who push the forward hobby, who do things in the hobby, and are also big time wrestling fans. So we're appreciative of you to come on the program tonight. And before we get going, I want to say hello to everybody on out there tonight. Esther, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing good. Good to see you. Let's go.
And now, see, yesterday Tuesday when I did our show, I reset all of the things, and now they're back to looking normal. See it? Remember Tuesday's show? All the banners were a lot bigger, and now it's reset it. I can't stand when the software resets with OBS. Andy, what's going on, buddy? How you doing? DJ in the house. What's going on? Richard Ward. Hail to pit. Pee and get right back. The green room. Hey, don't mess up the green room like you do, Ward. Christopher Raines in the house. How you doing, buddy? I wear black for you. Love it. And there's our main man, C4 Authentic Belts, Colin. He will join us in just a little bit. We'll get him on here and send him the link in just a little bit after we talk with Groovy for just a bit. Have you seen my... I wear black. Yeah, no, I haven't. I saw somebody's today. Kind of blew up the one hobby. The hobby.
Nice shot belt.
And there's Eric on the program. We had him on the program not long ago. The big dog from Berg's blog on Facebook. Good to see you, buddy. Who's here to win a belt? Oh, I don't know. I don't know nothing about that. You got to be quiet about that. Hernandez, what's going on, buddy? Oh, Christopher. Everybody getting to know each one in there. Bonkers is in the house. What's going on? Matthew, how's it going, buddy? Welcome into the program. Landon, hey, all new to the podcast. Looking forward to it. Awesome, man. Welcome into DDK. Make sure you go over to the DDK Belt Bar, grab yourself a drink, sit back and relax, enjoy this, get away from the hobby. Make sure you like and subscribe because we do a lot of great fun things here. It is DDK style and time. Thad, what's up there, Thad? Great way to start the weekend. Absolutely. We've got a legend on here, and there's Deuce Legends right in there. Check out his YouTube page as well. Let's go. Yes. Andy, get me. Show that belt. Hammer's got one right there. Just show it off there. Hammer, what you got there? You got one there too.
Oh, you're dang right, man. You
What's
know,
up,
I was skeptical about this belt when it first came out.
Man, what's going
but
on?
My goodness, brother, this is the all gold version, and I'm just absolutely over the moon with this belt, brother. It is. He did a fantastic job. This one is on real leather, but my goodness, I just love it so much.
All right, guys, who's farting in the green room? Stop it. I'm pretty sure that's Richard Ward. Stop farting in the green room. God. Sorry, Groovy. People fart in our green room all the time.
Before we start, boys, I want to say one thing to you guys and all the people that are watching as well too. Congratulations on your 1,500 subscribers, and they're all authentic as well too. So that just shows that how much people love wrestling belts, and they love you guys and love your show as well too. So it's a real honor for me to be on here. So just thank you for that, and congratulations, guys. You really deserve it.
Thank you so much. We've worked hard. We used to just be on Facebook, and then we started branching out when Facebook got real retarded about going live, and you can only go live in one group, and then you can't use outside software to go live. You have to use their Facebook software where you can't see the comments, you can't really interact. You have to watch a monitor, and it's real hard. So we said, hey, let's branch out and go to YouTube, and we've had a humbling following, and we appreciate it. Tyler in the house, CJ in the house, Ricky in the house, everybody. Just boy, your Groovy G's just is the man tonight. Groovy G, first, let's show what everybody is here to they want to talk about and see before we get into your life and how this all started. How about showing us this gorgeous belt that you've created?
Okay, so this is the replica. This is a dual plated version. Now, this is the last one, actually, that I've got from my first batch. So this is on the faux leather strap. Okay, wow. So it's got the really wide gap between the main plate and the side plates, and it tapers off at the end. Now, I deliberately went for the cheapest strap that I could get, because even if you were going to pay leather prices for leather from China, it's still not going to be anywhere near as good as a proper belt re-leatherer, because people that re-leather belts are belt fans as well too, so they know how it's meant to look, how it's meant to feel. So I just went, look, I'm going to go the cheapest option with the leather, because you can just take the bolts off just with the screwdriver, put it on a real leather strap, and it will look and feel and weigh a lot more like a real belt rather than a replica. I'll show you in. I think it makes a little bit more sense. One of the biggest criticisms, and that's fine as well too, on this belt, I don't know if you can see there, it was those chevron shapes, those right in between the letters.
Yes.
That's known as the wriggle in silversmithing. So because my original belt that I had, it was made by a silversmith down here in Australia. Because he was a different artist, he did his own wriggle to it. So that's why in between the background, particularly on the letters, I think that's the main contentious issue with this replica. So that's the wriggle there. Some people say it looks too uniform. Hey, that's what it is.
I think it looks spectacular.
Made by a different person, so it's just a replica. I just wanted to make something that people could get, other belt collectors could get. If they wanted to restone it, they could. I don't think it really does. If they wanted to re-leather it, they could. If they wanted a new strap for it, if they wanted their own nameplate for it, they could. And I wanted to put it at a price under about $1,000, because I think $1,000, if you put all the upgrades onto a replica, whether it's a shop replica or whatever, that's probably about, I think, where the maximum price is for how much you can probably put into a replica. So I wanted to make a replica. If you wanted to keep it as it is, that's fine. But if you wanted all the bells and whistles, you could have something that is just as good as any real belt for under $1,000. And hopefully I've succeeded a little bit that way. And certainly from the support from people out there, certainly has been very, very great. I'm just a fellow belt collector. I'm not a big corporation or anything. This isn't my day job. I just do this for the love of belts. I just wanted to give other belt collectors a real, proper, handmade 3D big gold belt. That was one of the belts I fell in love with early on in my collecting, and there was never a proper replica for it. Yeah, they had the 3D wrestlers and the globe and the crown, but they never did that rope border, and that's what I wanted to do. And so I went down that path, and hopefully now we've got something. Like I said, you've got a replica at a replica price. If you want to bump it up and put all the bells and whistles on it, hopefully you'll be able to get it re-leathered, restoned if you wanted to, but I don't think it needs it. Custom nameplate, you'll have a real belt under $1,000.
Yeah, it's incredible that you you came up with the idea of taking one that you can build from the ground up, or keep it like it is and make it affordable for everyone, but yet you can make this take this belt and put some great jewels on it, put it on some expensive leather, and you can build out an expensive on top of this belt and make an expensive and great, and you can just add to it, and that's what I've loved. Yes, get healthy, Cooper Flag. It's astounding that you came up and did this, and I love the price point that you entered it in, and it was just absolutely spectacular. But before we get into that, let's talk just a little bit before you, as we show a couple things. Where did your love of wrestling start? What was your earliest memories as a kid? Because you've grown up in Australia, correct? Your whole life?
Yes. So I'm from a place called Brisbane here in Australia. Actually, I work for the government here in Australia. That's in Australia here, we don't have freedom of speech in our constitution. It's implied, but because I work for the government here, I don't really have that freedom of speech to go, or technically to go onto a show and talk about belts or talk about whatever, because it may be against their government. So that's why I go for Groovy G. I also work with a lot of young people as well too, and I don't really want the people that I work with stalking me on Facebook and finding out who I am. I also think it adds to a little bit of the mystery as well too. I remember the Belt Talk days where people had their own little monikers, and that's how I still remember people as well too, whether they were Hazard F5 or who else was there? Robert Earl Up. I would just remember them by their Belt Talk name. So anyway, that's why I go for Groovy G. It's not an ego thing or anything. I'm just trying to separate my belt world from my real life, if that makes sense. My love of wrestling came, I was born in 1980, yes, so we grew up here in Brisbane, Australia. My father, he was a milko, milk delivery. So in the 80s, you used to be able to get fresh milk and fresh bread delivered to your door each day. So a person who was a milko, we'd call them here, or the bread runner, would get the milk probably about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning from the milk factory, and then deliver it to everyone's door. So when people woke up, they'd open the front door and they'd have their cold milk ready to go for their cup of tea or coffee first thing in the morning. So he'd wake up really early, and that was the only time that wrestling was on TV here in Australia. And I remember one time, I got 2 older brothers, and one of my older brothers, he woke me up when Dad was leaving to go on the milk run, and he had woken us up, and it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning or something ridiculous. And I saw these huge, just beasts slapping into each other. And I saw this one dude, he looked like they had like shaved the face off a gorilla. He was just hair all over him. And he was just like a massive gorilla. And he went over to the ring post and he ripped it apart and threw out all of the stuffing, and it went all over the air everywhere. And I was just blown away. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And one of my brothers, he turned to me and he said, you know, he's also got a green tongue. And that's when I was hooked, man. George the Animal Steel was my favorite. Then I loved to see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I had the little L&J figures when I was like a little 4 and 5 year old. So that's where my love of wrestling came from. The love of the belts came from. So we only got WWF here in Australia, and it wasn't a series. Sometimes they'd show whatever they had pre-taped, and then they go back to the start. So you might be watching the latest Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper match, and then the next week it'd go back to like Bruno Sammartino versus something, because they hadn't got any new tapes in. So we would get the wrestling magazines here though. So all the wrestling magazines, they were probably about a year behind what was going on, because they'd travel over by boat just because it was so far away. So on the magazines, you'd see people like Ric Flair or Nikita Koloff or Lex Luger who weren't in the WWF. I remember the Road Warriors, Kerry Von Erich, and they all had different belts on them. And I remember getting the magazines as well too and seeing Hulk Hogan have that big green championship. And then he also later on had different belts. I think he had the 85 and then he had the 87. And that's where I started looking at belts and thinking, what was this? So I was always interested in belts from a really, really young age. I was a wrestling fan for a long time. It was probably about my 20s I started getting into the belt collecting hobby.
Yeah, and what belt was it that immediately got you itched on belts? What was it that
Big Gold.
Was the big
I
gold?
remember a time in wrestling at the end of WCW's run, the Big Gold was so hokey and so old-fashioned. People thought that is the worst title. It's so southern. It's so out of date. When WWE bought WCW and they do their beautiful revisionist history, suddenly this belt becomes iconic again and it comes back into fashion again. But I think with the Big Gold, I think with all wrestling belts, it's the wrestlers that make the belt. One for me that I think it's a pretty simple design, that the original NXT championship, it just had the WWE logos and the NXT logo on a big belt. But Kevin Owens, when he came onto Raw, he really made that belt his own because he had that feud with John Cena. So that's how I became a fan of the belt. I showed you the Dome Globe that I had originally. I was a big fan of the new NWA when it came out. So the champions at the time, I also think, have that connection as well too. So the Big Gold was the first real belt that sort of got me sucked back in during the internet age to be able to look around and start searching for pictures of these belts and look into it. Like I said, I had a bit of a history, always keeping my eyes open for pictures of belts and always curious why they would change over time. So now we're in the internet age, I could look it up and I could see the belts and see the differences and find out all of that kind of stuff, that you go down that deep rabbit warren when you get into belt collecting.
Right. Did you get into the old school NWA as time went on? And
Absolutely. Some of the belts that they had in the old NWA are just spectacular, like
some of the greatest.
The Jim Crockett ones, the NWA tag teams, the TV title on that red leather strap. I don't think you can get much better than that. The US title, yeah, you've got them all there as well too, haven't you?
There's the US, the red strap, black strap. The United States, there's a C4. Got to get a Groovy G up there, and there's the NWA tag. And there's the original one over there. Their designs, I think, are absolutely the best ever. And I think the WWF comes in a so close second with me with the Winged Eagle and the you could throw up a quarter, but the way Reggie came up with those designs are just absolutely spectacular. And I think one that doesn't get enough recognition is the United States NWA tag. I think it's an absolute gorgeous belt.
Absolutely.
Talk to me, baby. That's one that I think. Yes, and there Austin talks about it. Yes, the NWA US tags. Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular. So you got your love into wrestling, and your love of belts. When did you actually start collecting?
Well, it was, and I remember the date as well too, because it's February 2nd, 2012. That was the day that I signed up to belttalk.com. So this is before any of the Facebook internet groups. Yep. This was sort of about the time that there was another forum called Flair for the Gold.
Yes.
And I was on there. It was in its dying days.
Teddy
Sharua had just made his Crumrine belt, and he was getting Dave Milliken to cast it. So 2012, that was about the time. I was searching, like I said, I was searching the internet for pictures of belts and pictures of the Big Gold just to look at them. And every search took me back to one place, belttalk.com. So that's when I joined up. I decided to pull the pin and think, I'll join up. And I remember probably within the first week or something, Belt Fan Dan had for sale a Reggie Parks made WWF Intercontinental title with the block logo, and he said it wasn't cheap. So I sent him a message and just asked him what's it going for, and he said that'll be fully loaded WWF Reggie Parks Winged Eagle. I've got it in hand. I'll just send it to you, $1,500. And I thought to myself, man, $1,500 for a WWF IC made by Reggie Parks. That is way too much money to be spending on belts. I'll never be doing that.
Can we get in the time machine and go back and get them?
Our times have changed, right? And here's another thing. About at the end of that year, because on Belt Talk, I'd go through the old archives as well too, and I thought that was a really good thing. That's what's sort of missing on the Facebook belt groups. You can't really go back in time. Sometimes you remember someone posting a picture or talking about this or that, and you can't really go back in time and see where those posts were. But on Belt Talk, because it was a forum, you could go back in time and you could see different things that people had written. So one of the things people had written in there, that the original Big Gold was made by a silversmith and it was made by Crumrine. So they knew the maker. And then they said that there was a couple of cast copies made as well too by a studio called AFX Studios down in Marietta, Georgia. And I got thinking to myself, if these guys made a cast, surely they would still have the molds. So I sent them an email at the end of 2012, and I got onto Andre Frades, I think his name is, and I said, hey, have you still got the molds to the Big Gold belt that they used in WCW? And he said, hey, he sent me an email back and said, yeah, thanks for reaching out. Yeah, I do still have the molds. Actually, I was the prop maker for WCW back when they were still around. I said, cool. I said, would you mind like making me a cast copy of this belt? What do you make it in? Well, this isn't actually it. This is one before. Oh, sorry. This is one after.
All right, make it the.
Sorry. So I said, he said they're made out of bronze. He said they come gold plated on a leather strap. They're $4,500. And I said, oh man, I'm going to have to get some time to work this up. About a year later, I worked and saved up, and I sent him an email again. And I said, look, I'm ready to spend this money on a cast. And he said, I'm sorry, I've just sold the molds.
Oh.
And about 2 weeks later, the Big Gold book came out. And surprise, surprise, who ended up with the molds? The guy that owns the Big Gold belt.
Yeah.
So that was the one that got, well, the two that got away, I suppose, early on. The $1,500 Reggie WWF and a cast of the original Big Gold. But that didn't put me off. So I set out trying to find a silversmith to make me a Big Gold belt. And that picture that you had up there, that's the very first handmade Big Gold belt that I got made. It was around about the end of 2013, start of 2014. And this is probably just before the book came out as well too. So the only pictures we had at that time of the real Big Gold belt, there was probably only 3 or 4 really good high quality pictures. You can see with this one, the crown and globe isn't right. The font isn't right. They've got a big gap in there. And it turned out different because it wasn't made by the original silversmith. Yes, it was good, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I'm afraid. So, yeah, I decided I sold that one on and decided to reach out to another silversmith who said that they would take on the job, because most wouldn't take on the job because the plates are just so big to do. So then I reached out to another company, and I think I've sent you there was a sketch of the second handmade Big Gold belt that I was going to get made there, Kevin.
Was that the other sketch before the sketch I just showed, or no?
Yeah, that sketch there. So I sent them some more pictures and things like that, and that was a little bit of a design that they said that they were going to do. So this was a different silversmith from the first guy, because I thought that the first guy didn't quite capture it, so I'll try somebody else. I got an email from this company, and they said it's a strange thing. The guy that's actually engraving the belt said he's seen this belt before. He said his brother did the original. So the guy that made this belt, his name was Roberto Ortiz.
Right.
Who's the brother of Victor Ortiz, who did the original Big Gold belt. So this belt here became known as Crumrine 3. So this is a sort of in-between belt. It was only around for a little bit. I don't know how many people maybe remember this or remember it happening. So this is around about 2014. I don't know where this belt is at the moment. And that's the one that come out all gold. They did it all gold. They couldn't dual plate this one at the time just because it was too big. But yeah, so Roberto Ortiz did the engraving on this one, and again, I wasn't 100% happy with it, just because the font wasn't the same. Some of the elements weren't the same. The actual engraving was much more similar to the original Big Gold because it had Roberto Ortiz doing it, but it still wasn't perfect. So when was it? So that was around 2014, maybe. But yeah, this is it here. So that's Cromrine 3. When I was getting that made, that's when the Big Gold belt book came out, and that's when in the book it says that the leather was done by Harris Leather. So because this was getting made in the States, I said, well, hey, look, Roberto Ortiz is making this belt. He's the brother of the original maker. Harris Leather did the leather. How about we send the plates to Harris Leather and we get them to do the leather for it? So this, I believe this is the first strap that Harris did after the original Big Gold belt.
Incredible
belt.
That's incredible. Where and do you still have this belt?
I don't. I actually I sold this one off to a collector who was really into Big Gold belts. Like I said, at the time, it still wasn't 100% perfect for me. Some of the ruby holders on the side were a little bit too big for my liking. The side plates were curved a lot more like a rodeo buckle, and they were a little bit harder to get flat. Right. And it wasn't dual plated. They couldn't dual plate it at the time just because of the size of it. So even though it was on the Harris strap and it was made by Roberto Ortiz, for some reason it just wasn't good enough for me. Yeah, that's another shot of it there. For some reason they've put the side plates on upside down there, but you can see the floral patterns in there a lot closer to that Crumrine style that Colin at C4 has reinvented and brought back to life again.
Yeah, I just think, you know, there's so many different ways to make this, and there's so many different versions. I think they all have their unique beauty in each even one. I mean, I love the way this looks here too, and you know, nobody's ever going to get the exact look of the original because they're all handmade. Even the ones at C4, even the ones on C4 makes, they're all going to be just slightly different because they're still handmade. But with, you know, I think with the C4, you're getting it made like the original. And just like this one up here on the screen, I think that's still beautiful. And I think anybody in the audience would still love to have one of those. And it's just, they're all unique in the way people make them and create them. I think each one of them has, you know, it's unique beauty in each one.
Yeah. And I think as well too, these are times before the Big Gold book came out. Like I said, before the Big Gold book came out, before Conrad started showing pictures of the real Big Gold belt, there was probably only about 3 really high definition photos of the original Big Gold belt. So a lot of time it was guesswork in the artwork and the scroll work and things like that. At the time, the best 3D Big Gold you could get was Teddy's cast through Dave Milliken, and the best acid etched Big Gold was a Loomis Big Gold. Loomis Big Golds were the best Big Golds you could get for a long, long time. But I wanted something handmade, so that's why I ventured out and tried to do this first one. Like I said, wasn't quite happy with how that one turned out. That was probably based a little bit more on the on Teddy's Crumrine cast more than the original Big Gold belt, just because there was access to more photos of it. And then Roberto made that second one for me, that all gold one that we got put on the Harris leather. And then after I sold that, that's when I got another silversmith, and we revisited the original Big Gold. This time we had a lot more photos because Dick Bourne had released the Big Gold book, and I think as collectors we're really, really spoiled of how Conrad Thompson and how Nick Bourne have been able to share that Big Gold with us and share photos of it with us. They could certainly just lock it away and you'd never see the beauty of it. But for collectors, it's a real lucky thing to have someone as generous as Conrad to show that off. And even in the way that Conrad has helped Colin at C4 as well too, get his as close to the original as you're going to get.
He's helped him quite a bit with discussions with Colin, and then allowing him to do the open, and then allowing him. I don't know if I should say that part. Allowing them to be around it and see it and hold it and touch it and discuss certain things. And when you got the guy that owns the original and says, "You nailed this," I mean, that's a pretty spectacular compliment.
Doesn't get any better than that.
WCW used the original Crumrine right on up till.
I believe they used a couple of casts towards the end.
Towards the end, they did, but I think even up till the end, they kept using the old one still.
Yeah, it wasn't not used for a long time. I think it may have even been replayed. I don't know if I read or heard. It might have been replated all gold, and that was the orange one.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we're talking a couple of decades ago now when it was on TV. So
I thought Dave only made the Randy Orton 2D nuggeted texture. Did he make more than that version?
Yes. Austin, there was a guy called Teddy Sharua. He contacted Crumrine Jewelers to make him another big gold belt. Crumrine were the original makers of the big gold belt. The daughter of Charles Crumrine, she made and she engraved Teddy's big gold belt. And then Dave Milliken cast it, and they were offering cast copies at the time. I don't think Dave Milliken had delivered, though, for a long time, not long after that had happened. No, that's all good, brother. Hey,
ask anything you want, brother. Ask anything you want, man. No worries.
The book is worth its weight in gold. Any of Dick Bourne's books, just for the photos alone. If you're a belt nerd like me and you're into anything belts, and
Dick Bourne's books are just absolutely amazing. He writes spectacular stuff, Dick Bourne here. So then this here is the second one, correct?
So this is my third one. So I had one handmade one that I didn't really like the font of. The second one that they called Crumrine 3. So this is my third one. So this is the third one that I had made by another silversmith. And this is the one that I've cast as well too. Because still at that time, the only cast copy you could get was Dave Milliken's version that he had made of Teddy Sharua's. And then the only other options you had were Fandu and the Pakistani stuff. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why in Pakistan, if they were able to do 3D CNCing, why didn't someone have a go at doing a 3D CNC big gold? But it just never happened for some reason. So then I thought, well, I'll see how hard it is to make molds or make casts of mine. And I got into a little bit of experimenting. I made some casts. I made different molds. I, at one stage, was pouring metal. I had a crucible and stuff too, trying to do all of that. I was trying to make cast copies. So there's a couple of... I figured out that I couldn't do it myself at home. So I really needed like a proper foundry sort of setup to make these casts. I went to a professional bronze artist with the molds that I had made, and he said, yeah, I'll be able to make some bronze casts out of these. So they do this thing called lost wax. I can't remember the exact name. Lost wax casting, I believe it is. So they will use your molds. When you have a mold, they come out inverted. So everything that's up on your final belt is down. So everything like your crown and your globe, they're pushed out on the final belt. In the mold, they're pushed in. So they make like a wax prototype, which is like a pink sort of prototype. And then they cover it in some sort of plastery type thing, heat it up, and it melts the wax. They pour the wax out. Then they pour hot melted metal into the mold, and they break the mold, and then you have a cast belt. So that's how you do lost wax casting. Very involved, a little bit expensive. I sort of figured out that casting in metal or casting in bronze costs about the same. And this is a mold. So this is a wax cast that they would put in a mold. So that's taken out of the molds. That wax cast is then covered in some sort of plaster of Paris type material with like a hole in the top. They heat up that plaster so it melts the wax, and then they pour the wax out. And so you're left with like a hollow container. And then they pour melted metal in, which fills up the gaps where the wax once was.
Right.
The cost of doing this for one belt is about the same of what it costs to etch a belt. So I thought it probably wasn't worthwhile in the long run, because people could still get an etched belt for around the same price as what I'd be charging for, like what it would cost to make it, plus what I would have to charge on top if I wanted to make any money out of it. So I made 3 metal casts of, they were of the Groovy G, the final Groovy G Big Gold that I have, which is the same replica as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something along the line. I can't remember the exact name of it. I think it's Lost Wax Casting or something like that. But yeah, as I said, it just wasn't cost effective enough, and I couldn't do it myself. So that's when I started reaching out a little bit further and started to think, where else could I get this cast that might be able to bring the cost down a little bit? Around about this time as well too, Fandu had their first, remember that small Big Gold that they bought out originally? And then they bought out the deluxe as well too. People were raving about it because it was more 3D. It was more of a cast shape. It had that sort of digged in look that the Pakistani Big Golds have. So it looked more hand textured. And I was still thinking, man, my Big Gold that I've got, it's proper handmade by a silversmith. This is way better. Collectors need something like this because we haven't had one with proper 3D rope border. We hadn't had one with proper 3D. Well, we had the 3D wrestlers, but not with that engraving around the outside.
Right.
So I just thought, well, where does the WWE get their belts made? And they get all their stuff made in China. Everything's made in China these days. So I reached out to a few companies over there to see if it was possible. And one company said, yep, we can do that, but they work in bulk over there. So it's a big investment. The way that these replicas are made, they will scan them originally. So my handmade belt that was made by a silversmith was scanned electronically by a computer. And then once they're in the computer picture, they've got like a 3D image of it. In there, you can change things. So on my 3D Big Gold, I added some things in, like I added extra shoelaces and texture and things on the wrestlers' shoes. I added some extra bits and pieces that were different on the original silversmith made one. I made them a little bit more correct to what the original Big Gold belt was. From there, from that 3D scan, they will, it's basically like I don't even know what machine it is. I think I may have sent you a video of the machine, Kevin, of making the molds in China. So it's like, I guess it's like a CNC machine or something like that. So they will drill a mold into a metal plate. And like I said before, when you make a mold, the parts that are sticking up, sticking down. So when we see this mold in a minute, it's a little bit hard to get your head around, but some of the parts that are up are down. So this is the mold. This is them in China making. Well, that's the finished mold.
That's crazy. That's pretty crazy. That's wild.
Yeah. So I knew I was onto a winner as soon as they sent me a video of that, and they said, "Yep, we can make this mold. Here's a scan of it." And I said, "Yeah, let's go for it." So they'll have a machine that will dig out your mold like that. Then they have, however thick piece of, it's like a zinc oxide, and they'll put that. It's just a flat metal plate. They'll put that on the mold and then stamp it down. So all of your engraving and all of your 3D bits, they all stand up 3D. So that's how these belts are made. So it's stamped and a pressed machine. I have changed that now. Some of the later ones, the dual plated ones, I actually have changed the grapplers. So they're a relief piece altogether. So they can come off altogether. I just did that just so they pop up just that little bit more. But from this, yeah, you can see from the mold there, all of the I guess the 3D bits that stand up, like the letters or the wrestlers, they're pushed in or they're engraved inwards. So then when they stamp the metal plate on top, it comes out 3D.
Vince said you put the font straight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I may have.
It looks
may have straightened up the font, I think, something like that. I can't remember. I did a couple of tweaks on the. So this is different. The Groovy G replica is actually more, probably closer to the original chrome iron than the belt that I own, the silversmith belt that I own, just because we could go on to the computer and add extra details in. So yeah, I think I straightened the font up a little bit. I added some more details into the wrestlers' shoes and things like that. Just because we had those pictures from the big gold book, I could add a lot more detail to it. And just even the patterns of the swirls. I know the swirls itself, that is different because a different silversmith made it. And they use different tools. So this is the machine actually cutting into, yeah, so it's a big, I don't know what type of machine it is, but it's like a CNC machine, I guess. So it's drilling into a big metal plate. And so they'll do that for the main plate and the side plates as well too. And like I said before, they'll get a, however thick, I think mine's about 6 mil thick. They'll get a 6 mil thick piece of metal, and then it's pushed in and it's stamped in. So that's how they make, that's how I make my replica belts. So that's how the WWE and Figs Inc. and stuff make their replica belts. So yeah, it's expensive though. It was expensive to set up because they only work in bulk. So I got 10 prototypes made and they were all gold. So this is a photo of one of the prototypes. Again, I said I went for the cheapest strap possible because even the best Chinese made leather is going to be nowhere near as good as a proper belt re-leather as leather. I had 10 prototypes and I said, if I can sell these 10, that will give me enough money to, and show me enough interest, I suppose, to invest a little bit more. And I posted the 10 up on belttalk.com and they sold within like about a week, I think it was. So it was really, for me, I think it solidified that people were after a 3D big gold because the replicas at the time didn't have that detail in it. And yes, if you can afford a C4, you'd certainly be getting one of them because that's the real deal, right? But for those collectors that can't afford that thing, this is something in the replica price range, and I think everyone needs a big gold in their wrestling collection. Hopefully mine's the one that you pick. And again, if you want to do all the upgrades, if you want a custom nameplate, if you want a custom leather strap, there's lots of guys out in the hobby that will do that. And that's another reason why I did that. I don't offer those upgrades. I want other people to do that because that's how the hobby grows. And if you're here in Australia, you send your belt to a guy here in Australia to do the leather. Hey, you've just made a new belt hobby friend. He might do other work for you later on. You live in the States, you might send your belt to someone in the States that does it. You live in the UK, you might get someone in the UK to make you a nameplate. That's what gets the hobby growing. And that's what I wanted to give back type of thing.
Right. So when people go on to GroovyGReplicabelts.com, because I'm starting to get the questions of price point and ordering. What's the process to be able to order one, your price point?
All easy. So if you go to GroovyGReplicabelts.com, at the moment I'm sold out of the dual plated ones. Okay, I might be getting a really, really small order in very, very soon. There were a couple of people that reached out to me via email, via the GroovyGReplicashop.com email. I'll reach out to them first and see if they want one. But if not, there might be a couple of them. I'm saying maybe 10, I guess. Some are spoken for, unfortunately. But like I said, I'm sold out at the moment of this one. But if there's interest, I can certainly get them. The molds are still there. It's just that I have to order in bulk, and that's expensive. But if enough people want to do it, I'll certainly do it. But yeah, it's just getting that interest and knowing if people will actually buy the belts once I get them in hand. But at the price point, $600 US, that's delivered worldwide. Like I said, at the moment, I've only got the all gold ones, unfortunately. But if there's enough interest, I'll get in the dual plated ones in a lot more volume if people are after them as well too.
So the old gold ones you have right now, and they're 600,
yeah.
and they can order them through the website.
Yeah, if you go to the website, that's free worldwide shipping. Most of the business comes from the United States. I usually say from Australia to the US, shipping usually takes about 2 weeks. I'll send everything express, so it's no longer than 2 weeks. Some people get it in a couple of days. It really just depends on.
I mean, that's beautiful right there.
Postal service. Yeah. So then, yeah, once you have it in hand, like I said, if you want to upgrade it, you don't have to do it straight away because there's always leather guys around. There's always people that can do nameplates around.
And it comes with this nameplate, correct?
Yeah, it comes with that nameplate, and that nameplate is fully removable as well too.
Because I think, hold it up there, Stephen, again. I think yours looks absolutely spectacular when you put the trophy style. I love it. Yeah.
I got the trophy style, but mine says Triple H.
I think it looks great when you put that on yours. I just think it's
fantastic.
It looks so cool. I mean,
I think
it's incredible.
Yeah,
you guys have done this, and you know, even though you might make something and you're an entrepreneur and whatever, it's still a whole lot of work. That's, you know, not necessarily. Sometimes you're like, man, is this worth all the headache because of all the stuff? But like I said, you guys, and Colin, I mean, you guys have taken the hobby to a new level, and what's made it great is you guys were collectors, so you kind of knew what collectors wanted, or you knew what you wanted as a kid, and you knew you wanted to hold it. You know, some of these big corporations that mash out belts, you know, don't take into consideration what you want and don't look at some of the quality and some of the things that you're doing. And a lot of people don't understand a lot of these shop belts, they're all mass produced in China, and I see people getting so mad when they show up from a little bit of paint thin or this, that, and then I'm like, dude, it's a mass-produced belt in China. Just paint over it or fix it. Sending it back and forth for them is not going to do that. It's not a handmade one of one or one of this, you know, and you're going through quality checks. So, you know, you got to kind of pull down your expectations when you're mass producing something. But then you get into something like this, and then the quality is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The WWE shop, they'd be pumping out these replicas by the hundred, and everything's made in China these days. That's just the economic hub. I think here in Australia, just because of our position near Asia, our relationship to Asia is probably a lot more close than what you guys over there in the States are. So everything's made in China these days, and you get what you pay for in terms of quality. The strap that this comes with, it's fine for putting on display or whatever, but I think eventually, if you want to go down the track of re-leathering, that would be the way to go.
Yes, they are removable.
If I were to pay more, I would have got a better strap. But that's the thing with China. You get what you pay for. I've really spent all of my money doing the molds, getting them with as much detail in there as possible. That's where I've focused my attention and my money to do that. And like I said, I think Colin and my approach is a little bit different because for us, I think with the hobby, you can get to a point where you have all the things that you want, or you can collect as much things that you liked. And there's only an infinite number of belts out there. But just by sharing your photos or sharing stories and making friends and connecting like that, that's a real fun part of the hobby that I think a lot of people forget about. And if you're able to make something that other collectors want, because you're a collector yourself and you think, hey, I like this, maybe someone else might like this, I think that's a nice thing to do, and to try and get the hobby going and try and include more people and share the joy more than anything.
600 for his that he's got available right now. Groovy G, replicabelts.com. You can go on there to look right now. This, Chris, the trophy style I was meaning, Stephen, hold that up. I'm talking, when I say the trophy style, I was meaning this nameplate. That's called a trophy style nameplate that's put on there. And that's what I liked on this style. It's kind of cool. Yes, Lane, the nameplates are removable there. Show the back there on yours. See the screws there on the plates. Just like the original, the plates can come off just like it is on a C4 And the original, you just take the screws off on the back and do what you need to do with it, or change whatever plate that you need to. Appreciate that.
And I've actually got on one of my videos on the Groovy G Championship Belt podcast, one of the first ones there, or one of the replica ones, I should say. I've got a strap that was made by AFX Studios. It originally had Kevin Nash's cast copy, and I've put my plates on the top of it because you can see the outline where the plates were. It's the exact same size as the original Chrome Ride. And there's Starcast down in Victoria last year. I met up with Colin. Colin was very gracious. C4 Colin. I'll always call him C4 Colin. He invited me down.
We were live. I think you were when we did that live. I think you were there too, because I said Groovy G's over here.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize that Colin was actually part of the show. He wasn't just a vendor there. He was a part of the show.
He had a lot of Reggie's. That was a lot of Reggie's stuff there that he got to be able to display. People didn't know that.
And that's Bret Hart there having a look through all of that.
He wanted all that stuff. He said he wanted it because he was close to Reggie.
Yeah, we talked with Bret there over the weekend there at Starcast, and because Reggie died so suddenly. He died of COVID, and like a week before I was talking to him, a week before Bret said he was talking to him, and it just he went to the Cauliflower Alley reunion, and that's where he caught COVID. There was a lot of COVID going around there, and he died. Reggie would still go to the gym. Reggie would still be driving around. People say that, there were rumors around that Reggie didn't know what he ate for breakfast. That's all bullshit.
That's
absolute
not
bullshit.
True. No.
That's not true at all. He was just old. I talked to him. I started talking to him in about 2018, 2019. There's Colin there. Cheeky Colin. Mickey James was all over Colin down there.
All right.
Oh, hi, Colin. She's getting
yeah. We had a fun day that time, whatever. No, a lot of people Reggie's going out of his mind. When you get old and you get in your freaking 80s, your hand's not going to be as steady as much. But Reggie was an incredible humble human being. And
he was a gentle giant. I think he had nothing to prove. I first started talking to him around about the end of 2018, 2019. I found his number I actually found two numbers online. That's one of the metal casts. That's a finished cast. One of the original metal ones. I might have got the. Oh, hey.
Oh, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing.
Don't say that.
Oh, shut. Yeah. I mean, Reggie, when I first ordered mine back at the late end of 2000 and got mine in 2001, you called his shop, and it was his little garage, and he had a little phone out there. And then he says, if I don't answer out there, just call the home number here, and here's the home number. He give you his home number, and then he talk with you. How you doing? What's the weather going on? He was just such a great and humble guy.
He was. I like that. That was the thing. I had two numbers, and I remember he had a carpet cleaning business. That's some of the great work that he did as well too. There's TV and the US title. I remember he had a carpet cleaning business. I had read that somewhere. So one of the numbers that I had for an R Parks was for a carpet cleaning company, and one was just for an R Parks, and the two different ones. So I rang the carpet cleaning company, and I'd figured out what time it was over in Arizona, and it was ring, hello, in that real soft voice. And I thought, hello, Mr. Reggie Parks, and we just kicked it off from there. I think he wrestled out here because he was a wrestler before he was a belt maker. He wrestled out here in Australia in the 60s, and I think he really liked that connection of talking with someone from Australia that he had fond memories of working down here, but also someone that was still interested in belts. When I spoke to him, and like I said, this is like 2019, he said he hadn't made a belt in about 5 years. Okay. Wow. So the way things worked with Reggie was Rico Mann would take the orders. I don't know whether Reggie would order the plates. I think the way that Reggie worked was Reggie would make everything, and then he would say how much it cost you. He didn't have set prices. he would just say, "Oh, that'll be whatever." And for the price for one, like even the same belt might be different from different times that you buy it. So Rico would give him the orders. He would put it together, and then I think Rico would pay him the money, and that's how they would send it out. But when like I said, when I started speaking to him at the start of 2019, end of 2018, he told me he hadn't done a belt for about 5 years. Reggie was all cluey still. And like I said, that dementia thing, that was rubbish. He told me that he'd talked to Brett. He told me that Brett would ring him up. And then when we were speaking with Brett down at StarCast, Brett was like, I was warning him, he should get the needle because he's old. And Reggie was like, no, I'm fit. I still go to the gym and stuff. And yeah, because it was just so sudden when he passed. But Reggie was a true old-fashioned gentleman. He said, like he would never say no to you, but he would just like gently move you to a different subject. He was an old-fashioned gentleman. Brett is the same way, real softly spoken, because I think these guys know that they're the best. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. And I think it was nice still of Brett to call Reggie from time to time, and Reggie would make time every summer to go up and visit him as well too. When I started talking with Reggie, and he said he hadn't made a belt in about 5 years, I said to him, well, you know, I might be interested in making one if you want. And he was like, yeah, that's great. You contact my guy, Rico Mann. He'll sort things out. So I didn't ring, sorry. I emailed Rico, and he was like, yeah, we're working on a new deal and that kind of stuff. And then I let it pass for a couple of weeks, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to ask the man himself. So I rang Reggie again. I said, look, I've talked to Rico, but I haven't heard anything back. I'm really keen on getting some belts. And Reggie's like, oh, well, you know, I can't really make anything at the moment because my etcher's gone out of business. So he used Teddy from Tucson Trade Engravers with his etcher. And then I said, oh, well, can you do some leather for me? And he said, yeah, I can do some leather for you. And he said how much he was going to charge for a leather strap. And I said, oh, I'd like a red NWA TV strap, and I'd like I can't remember, an IC strap, I think it was. And he said, yeah, I can do one of them. And I was going to put some bootleg plates onto them. I was just going to get some bootleg company to do the plates. So I sent him, he said, this is how much it costs. He didn't have PayPal or any electronic funds or anything. So I sent him the cash. So I sent him a couple $100 from Australia in US currency over to the States. And then I was just thinking and wondering, well, hang on. There's all these rumors going around that Midwest aren't delivering belts. What if I've just been scammed here?
I get that.
And I left it a little while, but then one day I came home from work and I just about tripped over this box at the front door, and they had these 2 leather straps in it from Reggie Parks. It was a red NWA TV strap and a black Intercontinental strap. And I rang him up. I said, oh, thanks very much, you know, for making these. They've arrived all good. He said, yeah, I had to change the sizes of the straps because I had to trace them off the negatives I've got. They weren't the same size as what you sent. And I said, what do you mean negatives? And he said, oh, the artwork. I got a box here of artwork. I had to trace around the artwork to get the right size of the plate so I could do the leather for you. And I said, oh, have you still got the artwork? And he was like, yeah, I've got lots of artwork. I have boxes of it. I said, well, I can find an etcher if you like. And he said, yeah, sure. I said, I just need the artwork. And so that's what he did. So there's Reggie in an Australia shirt I sent his way. Reggie's there, he's hanging out. That's Reggie's old van. That's him with a dome globe that he made. I think that was for a referee, actually.
What you doing, Reggie? Working on the van. What you doing, Reggie? Working on the door on the van. Reggie, what you doing? Working on the tires on the van. Dude was just so great. Great.
So he'd go to the gym. He'd still be drinking at a biker bar.
Yep.
So, I said to Reggie, you know, I could sort out an etcher if you want. I just need the artwork. And so that's what he did. So This is the negative. This is what he's talking about here. I don't know if you guys can see that there. So that's a negative. So this is when you're etching plates, they will have your artwork and they will print it onto, it's like a film. That goes on the top of a zinc plate, and then they put it in an acid bath. And when that acid hits the plate, they have a reaction. So everything that's black will get etched out, and everything that's white on these will.
I need to get with you with that and get the copy of it like exactly like that and frame it. I think that'd be cool framed.
Yeah, well, this is the real artwork, and yeah, he had boxes of the stuff.
Yeah,
so he had,
having that made again is just spectacular, just like you have it there with in that film paper.
Yep, yeah. So that's the thing. This is what they use. So that's the real artwork. I've showed this on my YouTube channel before. It's another one.
God, I just sorry. I'm gonna have to put you on camera because I'm kind of horny right now. Sorry, I gotta.
So that's what we did. So on my YouTube channel, the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast, every Reggie belt you see on there, except for the Winged Eagle, every Reggie belt on there was made like that. He sent me the artwork, I etched the plates, and he put it on the leather. So some of the last belts that he made, I got from Reggie, and he was. Some people will say he wasn't doing his own leather at the end. Sometimes he was on, sometimes he wasn't on because he was 80 odd years old. But when he was on, man, he would still knock it out the park. I've got some belts off him that are just as good as of when he was in his prime. The leather on them. Some of them's a little bit different.
Even in people don't understand. Even in his time, Reggie would have something that was a little bit off or out of line or this. Even when he was spectacular, that's what makes it handcrafted. But Reggie, when he put a chiseled mark into your leather, you knew it. It was deep. It was crisp. Even if it was a little bit unstraight, it was crisp. It was deep. It was beautiful. And Reggie didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what he made from the last one to the next one. That's why you got all the different cuts in the WWE, WWF. WWF never asked for different cuts. Reggie was just like, oh, I feel better this one. You know, and that's
absolutely, and that's where you got, like you said, all those great cuts. But even the artwork, because this is literally cut and pasted, so that has been cut out and pasted on. I got to shout out, and he's a polarizing figure, Adam Gibbons, icon, probably planted in my head this thing about artwork. When I first started collecting. Things like how belts were made, what are they made out of, who does the pictures, they were all taboo subjects. You couldn't talk about that. If you asked that, people wouldn't tell you because there were like maybe 3 people in the world at that time that made their living off making belts.
Right.
So,
Gibbons is a unique taste to some people.
He's a polarizing character, but
he needs to be a wrestling figure. Period. That dude's crazy.
He started asking these questions. What are these belts made out of? And then someone would go, "They're zinc." Okay, because up until that time, like you wouldn't even know if a belt was made out of solid gold or not, or who would do the drawing. Oh, they're a vector file. You got to do a vector file. So, like, people didn't even know if Reggie hand drew that eagle himself or what. And then, how do they do that? Well, it's cutting and pasting. Well, it's literally, they had old, and this is what Adam Gibbons discovered. They had old Photoshop booklets, line cuts, I think they were called, where they would have things like these wrestlers. And so they would literally cut out the wrestlers from this book, photocopy it on, enlarge it or whatever, and then that's how they made their wrestlers. They were literally cut and paste. Some of Reggie's belts as well too, you will see where the cut marks are on some of the belts. I'm not going to give that away because they're some of the things that make Reggie belts absolutely unique, because some of them you can actually see the cut and paste marks where they've put one thing on top of the other. But the reason I mention Adam Gibbons is because he started to find that real artwork. He found where they got the wrestlers from for the Winged Eagle. He found where Jamar got his wrestlers as well too. So his globes and eagles and stuff like that too. So that's, I think, that in the background of my mind when I was talking to Reggie, that was kind of when I asked, well, I can sort you out with the artwork.
Hey guys, you see here, this is how you kind of mail a belt, but you got to put bubble wrap down. I think this is just for the picture, but this is a pet peeve of mine about shipping the belt. You put right here, you see this picture, you put bubble wrap down, then you wrap the belt in bubble wrap, and then you put the belt wrap face down, then you fold the belt into it itself. A lot of these people out here.
Sorry to interrupt you. That's from Ralph Harris. So that's Chrome 3 there.
Yep.
That's Ralph Harris leather. So that would be the only big gold after the second big gold after the original. That was
that leather.
Ralph Harris.
Spectacular. This hair. Oh God. Sorry, I'm getting excited again. Just spectacular.
But I can tell you what, the stuff that Colin is putting out beats it hands down any day of the week.
Right, but as we talk, there's all different levels of the hobby, and I've recommended. I said, look, if you want the top of the line, go with C4. If that belt means too much to you, because you're getting the cast wrestlers on it, you're getting it silversmith by the family, you're getting all the people that are touched the original to touch kind of this and be involved in this and how it's being done and the leather, and it's amazing what he's done at the price point too, with getting them on board. But the other thing I said is, if you want one that you can build on, that you don't have that much money on, but you want one that is still greatly made by a pro of the hobby and a great person of the hobby, I said you got to go with the Groovy G, and then you can build onto it what you want. You can get the $600 belt. Then when you get more money in, you can get it re-leathered. Then when you get more money in, you can get it restoned. Then you can put as more as you want into it. And there's different lobbies in everything, from knife collecting, gun collecting, different levels.
Or the way I was thinking as well too, if you want to have a go at restoning a belt, why not have a go at your own? If you want to go down the line of trying re-leathering for the first time, why not try it yourself? You might be good at it, you might not be, but you never know until you try. So I think like I know some people are just into the collecting of belts. I've really been a lot of how they're made, where's the artwork come from, what are the little add-ons that you can do that make it a little bit more authentic to TV. So hopefully people will, some people are getting on board with it, but hopefully it's making people happy. It's the options that people are looking for with a big gold replica.
And for the people out there that don't know, that we all here on the screen know, but tell us a little bit about this belt.
So this is, I guess I get a little bit bored sometimes. I got to move on from one project to the next. This was during COVID.
I love this thing, man. I love this thing.
Shut the world down. I became a big fan of the new NWA. And I thought, because all of the big guys are going to end up with the WWE anyway, so I thought the new NWA could be a real spot for these young, smaller guys to make their mark. And so I thought, they announced that they were going to have a junior heavyweight championship, and I thought, I got to design a belt, and it's got to be a throwback to like the big gold, but different from it. So I've used the same silversmith that I got to make my big gold, that I made my replicas from. And we've put in the NWA. I used that World's Junior. We've got some flourishes and stuff like that. I deliberately went with the silver, predominantly silver, and it is a little bit smaller than the big gold.
Look at that.
Could you have storylines like between, because the junior heavyweight guy might want to take on the heavyweight guy. Mine's gold, yours is silver. I'm first place, you're second place. Those kind of feuds. The leather strap Bison and Bear, Chris Simmons down here in Australia, did a phenomenal job. It's just it hasn't been dyed. Again, my idea behind that, it will patina over time, the leather. Yes. So I think you just put a coat of oil on it. So if it were to be used by a federation or something, you would be able to sort of gauge the time of when the belt was used just by the patina of the leather, because it would be darker that gets used on. I reached out to Nick Aldis. He said he would pass on to, I'm a blank now, Smashing Pumpkins guy. Billy Corgan. Billy. Nick said he'd pass it on to Billy Corgan. I reached out with photos of it already. It was ready by the time they ended their tournament. Didn't hear anything back. They didn't want it. They ended up going with...
That's because he's a retard.
It was offered it to him for free.
He's killed something that, I mean, he's killing the NWA left and right with the decisions he's making. That's just my opinion. It's not Groovy G's opinion.
I think it was probably a good thing because, once COVID hit, that was the end of the new NWA. But you go and have a look on YouTube, NWA Power. Those first couple of seasons are just phenomenal. Surprise, look at the guys that were on there. They're all
because look who was involved in it. Look who was involved with it too. And Jim Cornette, and the way Jim Cornette was treated by that company because of Twitter people, when not knowing the history of Jim Cornette and what he did for black wrestlers and putting them forward, and to say that he was some way was just absolutely disrespectful and appalling.
It was crazy. And then, but then their replacement was Wade Barrett. So they were just kicking goals. They couldn't lose somehow. It looked like, but
yeah, they should. Well, they also had an opportunity to use. I'm sure you're well aware of it. When Billy first bought it, he was thinking of using either to go to a big gold style, or he was thinking of using the NWA 10 pounds. And he was sent one from Leather Rebels that had that same type of leather as the NWA. And that's the one that I've got, that original one that was sent to him. And he was thinking it over and then sent back, and then it made its way into my collection. I love that as much as I love the 10 pounds of gold. The one that Leather Rebels made for him, and it's not the one in the big gold book. The the Leather Rebels one is different. It has the letters that are like this letters, if people have seen it, like that. The NWA, yeah, has the NWA official letters like on it. If people have seen that, I would have loved to seen them use that. As much as I love the 10 pounds of gold, it was just Leather Rebels on their leather, and the way they used to make stuff is spectacular. And it was unfortunate that he couldn't quit being a dirty person for a little bit. Hopefully he's got some stuff squared away and comes back, because he could make a belt. You can't say that. He could make a belt.
Yeah. We'll judge his belts, not the person.
Absolutely. His belts are spectacular. We wanted to bring on here a real good friend of yours, real good friend of this program. He is the man that you've got to check out at c4authenticbelts.com. He is the owner and creator of c4authenticbelts.com. Please welcome to the program Colin from C4Else. Colin, how you doing, mate?
Yes, yeah, I'm doing well. Just want to say, firstly, I'm not sure there's an echo, but yeah, that today's about Greg Stevenson. Right, it's not about me.
Right. But we wanted to, you guys are good friends and great people of the hobby, and I wanted to get your thoughts on what he's done with Groovy G belts, because it's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's why I was pretty keen to get on, because as you can see, Groovy, he's a very modest fella. He's very
too modest.
I think probably an Australian thing.
I'd be walking around with my peacock out.
That's right. To understate a lot of stuff that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, there'll be no C4 without Groovy G.
I actually remember the first time that Colin and I first talked. I think I was just in the process of making my replica belt, the all gold version, and he was starting out C4, and I reached out to him on Facebook because he was from Australia as well too, and I said, hey, I'm doing this replica at the time. You were doing the handmade things. There's room enough for both of us. And he was I knew when we started talking, he was really far down the line of getting a proper silversmith made belt. There's some terms that he was using that only people that know silversmithing and know rodeo buckles would use. And he started using that straight away when I was talking to him. So I knew that he was already doing something that was going to be completely different than what I was doing. So I think just being friendly with one another. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this photo? What tweaks can we make here? But he's done a phenomenal job, Colin, and what C4 are doing, not just for wrestling belt fans, but for the legacy of the families as well too. I think a lot of people forget that these belts were actually made by people, and sometimes those people get forgotten about a little bit. Yeah. And their families forget about it as well. Well, not so much forget about it. The families want that legacy to go on.
Well,
someone that they love was important and they mattered. So guys like Victor Ortiz and guys like Reggie Parks, those guys matter to us belt collectors because they didn't just make the belt. They're why we're together now, because we had this common bond over what they made, the art that they did.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all on the screen together because of the love of belt collecting and the love of and the enjoyment and the throwbacks to being kids. And then you've got you guys that are pioneers from back in the day that are current pioneers of pushing this hobby forward. And it's great to see it. It's great to experience it. And it's great to be in this time in the hobby. And I really like it. And I want people to be able to know, how great it is to get an affordable Big Gold and what you've put into it and all the time and work that Groovy G has done. You got to go visit GroovyGReplicabelts.com. You gotta get one. He is graciously enough today as we are watching, and this is an announcement. We're going to ask a question here in about 10 minutes, and the answer to that question will win a Groovy G Big Gold. So give it up. Throw those DDKs up in the chat, and let's give it up for him for doing this today. He's going to do that for us in just about 10 minutes. We'll ask that question. Give it up for Groovy G. So he's going to do that for us in just a little bit. And then Colin is also mailing me 10 brand new C4s to give out. No, I'm just kidding.
Just about fell off his chair there.
Colin's like, no. But that's gracious that Groovy G has done that. And we're glad to have him here and be a part of this program tonight and to talk about that stuff. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, give it up for him. Absolutely, everybody. Hello, Stacker. Welcome into the program. First time comment. Welcome into the program. Make sure you like and subscribe and join the program. Absolutely, we're glad to have you here. David Johnson, welcome in, man. How are you doing? Yes, first time meeting the two guys. These are two icons on the screen. Positivity in the hobby. I said hobby. God dang. The hobby and what they're doing is awesome, and it's crazy. Yeah, span those fingers, get those DDKs to them. He's going to do that and graciously to that. And Groovy G is also mailing me 10. But it's awesome.
Yeah, he told me earlier that since I have a gold one, he was going to mail me a dual plated one as well. And I thought, man, what a great guy! Wow,
what a spectacular man. Ethan, what you got for Groovy G here, man?
Spectacular interview. I mean, all the painstaking trouble he went through trying to get himself a crumb rind. All the trials, the fails, the trials, the fails, and then to smack a replica out of the park. It's good for the hobby. That's the best way to put it.
I think going back to what Kevin was saying before as well too, just the positivity. I don't understand the drama in the hobby. I really don't. I don't get involved in those things. I don't think I've got any enemies. I hope I don't. But if people don't like me for whatever reason, that's fine too.
That's their problem.
It's be fun, I think. Yeah. And I think getting together and talking face to face solves a lot of problems as well too. So, it's real easy to type something in, real easy to get misconstrued on the internet as well too.
Yeah,
it's all fun. We're all here for the same reason. So let's stop the drama and let's just love the belts and just give back and try and help out your fellow collector, because we all want the same thing. We want what we grew up watching. We want what we saw on TV, and we want it as close as possible. And if the big company isn't making what we want, we'll try and make stuff ourselves and get what we want.
Yeah,
no, agreed.
Yeah. It's there's these people out there that seem to want to all across it's not just anything that happened today or just in that that people try to be a victim of anything or try to get upset about anything. And if those type of people do that to you, you just got to block, move on, and ignore. Don't let people ruin your hobby when you enjoy something. And for me, nobody can ever ruin anything. I can look at these belts and hold them whether I'm in bed. And like I said, I just got up about an hour for the program, and I go and hold those belts, and they give me energy, and they get me up, and they get my medicine in me. And it's all about the memories that these belts bring. That's why we're all in this hobby. And I made so many great friends because of this. And it's just
See
great.
the craving box.
What's that?
No. Sorry.
Colin, you wanted to come on here and add a few things?
Yeah, exactly. Sort of share a couple of stories between Groovy and myself. Because we have had, quite a few adventures together. What you don't know is, we're in the same country, but we're on different sides of the country. So he's in the north, up, Queensland. I'm in Melbourne. So we never met until I invited him to Starcast. So our engagement started, pretty early on. It was funny because I was working on my belt, things like that. But the truth is, I got the breakthrough in research for me, right, is episode 1 of the Groovy G podcast.
Yeah,
his big belt. All right, and that's his podcast. I would say if you haven't watched it or haven't, so you got to start. All right, because that's a complete, really detailed, really thorough history of basically, all the iconic belts, and Groovy is the OG of this stuff. There's to me, there's nobody else that I've learned more used his research and his knowledge as much as him to make what I've made. But at the same time, I encourage everybody to have a look through, because he knows his stuff. He knows the people. He knows the ins and outs. Up until then, if it wasn't for Groovies, I'd be trying to make an imitation CS belt or something. That's when I started playing with Pakistan and things like that. Well, we got far, but it wasn't nowhere near as the breakthrough that after episode 1 that got me looking into silversmithing. So what we're talking about, the wriggle and all that sort of stuff, a lot of funny comments that come out, like, oh, that texturing, that zigzag, I can't handle it. It's like, you've got to understand. You've got to understand what silversmithing is. That's one person with his tool, putting his signature on that. It's and then when he was talking about texturing, chevroning, that sort of stuff, how the thickness. All right, so that's another thing. Being Groovy, we share a lot of funny stories about. Everyone asks us about the weight and the thickness. Oh, is it 4 mil? All right, well, yeah, you can have 4 mil, but the original is, if the original is 4 mil silver, then you'll be paying. I don't think Ric Flair would be able to afford it himself. I don't think anybody else would be able to afford it. It was actually, what, 12 gauge, which is around about 2 mil and things like that. 3, a little bit over 2 mil or so, and then engraved. So it's not like what we think it is. When we're playing with Pakistan belts or outset etched or whatever they do, right? Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of funny things we share comments with. The other cool thing was, I was going to say, meeting him, right? So I'll skip to meeting him. He's like, he contacted me and things like that. First we thought it wasn't it was never a competition between me and Greg. It was a lot of mateship, especially how he approached me and vice versa. It's like he knows that I'm working on something totally different to what he's working on.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, completely different. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I've always given credit to what he's provided me, and then, but I was far along based off his video, and the book and things like that, and the Grunrowan family. But he did help me further on as well with what he's come up with. He showed me a lot of things afterwards. So that's so we've been supporting each other and things like that for quite a long time. When he came to StarCast, one thing you don't know about Greg, you see how far he sits away from the computer? He's a bloody giant, man. You know how
You
tall
said
that
that-
is?
You said
Oh,
that on the live when we had the live show, and he's like, "Yeah, Groovy G's over there." He's like, "He's a bloody giant."
Yeah, he's a giant. Yeah. He's like, oh, I thought he just had a baritone voice, but yeah. But
I'm about 6'4" on the old scale.
Yeah. It was like, man. So yeah. So when we met, it was like, wow. Because what it was is I had to go to StarCast early to set up, and they kind of stood me up. But anyway, I was in the hotel by myself, but my family was behind, like as in a couple of days, leaving in a couple of days, and so I arranged. I got Groovy to drive my family up.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, they're used to small dad, and then this giant guy knocks on the door. I'm going to take you to StarCast.
C505.
Yeah.
Give me a C4, you Australian bum.
So I told told my wife, my kids, don't worry, he's a big friendly giant. We'll take you up there. It's about an hour drive from here, an hour and a half drive from where we live to Ballarat, and things like that. So so I would say all the memorabilia for Reggie, and things that came from that's Groovy's, that's Greg's. It's his inroads, his relationship. So we've always done our work from relationships and from caring about. So for me, it was the Ortiz family. It was Crumrine as well, and Reggie, and with way before my time. I couldn't even dream of the things Greg's seen and done. Greg's relationship with Reggie and his loved ones and things like that. So so these things, it didn't come from making money or quick gains and things like that. It came from actually a place of care and a place of respect, and really trying to preserve and honor the people who made these belts, and that's what made us close as well. So so hats off to Greg, and really
Colin forgets to tell you though, when we went to StarCast and actually met up, he very graciously invited me down. He said, I've got a bit of a display there. Do you want to bring some of your belts down as well too? I said, yeah, I'd love to. I'll bring some of my stuff down that we can show off. I had some Reggie stuff as well too that we could show off. And I didn't know until I got there that he was actually part of the show. He wasn't just the vendor there. He was actually on the advertisement. C4 was one of the reasons why they were having StarCast Down Under. So he is one of the main stars of the show, saying here's the real Ortiz belt. Oh, by the way, he's a cheaper version as well too. So it's never been about money. It's always about that friendship as well too. But everyone knew him, Colin at StarCast. Mickey James would be running over. Hi, Colin, giving him a kiss. Talking to Bret Hart, and
we heard you had a new admirer that day.
Not really. He's just laying it on. And if you keep going like this, the eldest would go kick my ass.
But it turned out good in a way, because unfortunately Conrad had there was some untimed things happening in his life, so he couldn't make it down. So the real big gold. The original big gold didn't make it down, so we only had Colin's stuff and my stuff there to display to people. So it was sort of a mixed blessing, I guess, that we got to put our stuff together, and the fans got to see a little bit of Reggie and a little bit of the cheaper end, I guess, as well too, on the replica side of things. But all the guys that were there, like Eric Bischoff and Bret Hart, and like Colin's bringing all these guys over, and they're looking at all of our belts and things like that. It was just a really, really fun thing to do. And I talked before about the friendship that you make with this hobby, and certainly if you can meet up with someone, whether it's going to a live event, going to one of these StarCast shows or whatever, even if you're meeting up at a park or something, and just showing the different belts that you have, that's really, really enjoyable.
Yeah. So, we've got about 15 minutes left in the show. what is it like? And I've asked Colin this question before, and I wanted to ask it to you. What's it like seeing your work out there being enjoyed by people? People flock over it. People love it. The flattery, the attention. What's it like seeing, the years of work, the years of knowledge put in, and seeing it come to fruition, and people holding a belt and typing in your name, Groovy G, and putting out. Look, there's one in Steven's hands right now, and the happiness that you brought to people. What does it stir up in you?
If people are happy, I'm happy. Because I'm a belt collector at the end of the day. I know what it's like. Like the time when I came into the hobby, there was a lot of things that were taboo. Bootlegs were absolutely taboo. And I just thought some things, they were there for a reason, but this hobby's about the enjoyment. You got to share what you have. And I really don't understand why people don't really share what they have. Like Colin and I, we were working on the same project. We were both making big goals, but we're both doing completely different things. So why wouldn't we help each other out? It just gives me so much joy that people are getting a little bit of your childhood or whatever and having some fun, and they like what they've got. They're happy with what they've got, and it's better than what they could buy from a big company, that hasn't listened to what fans want over the years. That makes it all worthwhile for me. Like Colin said, it's not about money, and a lot of these things are very, very expensive labor of love. But just to be able to give other belt fans a chance to have something that we haven't had before, that's a really positive thing for me.
Yeah, I've said to Colin.
On top of that too, guys, I hope we got a little bit of time to talk about one thing that illustrates why we do it basically for you in the hobby is when Groovy brought in the leather, the Groovy G leather challenge. Okay? So when that first came out, when the belt first came out,
that leather challenge was spectacular. If people don't know what we're talking about, it was the episodes and Groovy G podcast. You got to go talk them out. It was a spectacular done. It's something that I wish I could have thought of something to do like that. It was great to do. I love
this guy's idea.
I love
this guy's idea.
It's like, yeah. So basically, when the belt first came out, it's like, hang on, this belt's about the plates. The Groovy G belt's about the plates. He only out of kindness put it on some cheap leather just to make it look, make it usable. But it was getting a bit of a hard time. Like people say, the leather. I was like, all right, it's not about that. If I would have done it, I would have just sold the plates. Don't worry about the leather. But he was so kind to put it on something. And I was like, hang on, you don't need to reply to the negative comments, because you cop all the comments before I do. So I was like, don't reply to that. Stick to what you do best, and you're the best at podcasting. You're the best at talking to people and presenting, your platform, particularly with makers, with people, and things like that. So lean on the leather guys and get them to put their leather on your plates to show people how it's supposed to be done, right? And then from there you can even, if people want to work with a particular leather person and things like that, they can work with them, and Groovy will supply the plates. Have your belt totally done by all those wonderful leather people, from Daniel to Canuck belts to Mendoza, all those people, right? So so that it's about building strength on strength, and that's and I really was able to tap into Groovy's strengths there to really bring the hobby forward. And well done for executing it and doing what you do, Groovy.
Yeah, it's just immaculate. While we have these two guys on the screen, before we wrap it up here, is anybody in the chat got some questions for these guys? Steven, you got something for them? You got two legends here on the screen.
Oh my goodness, man! I've got two things that crossed my mind just regarding the Groovy G itself, because I was a skeptic at first when I first saw it, because I didn't like the jagged lines behind the letters. I didn't like that. But when my friend Zach Hunter Lawson showed me his Groovy G Big Gold, and he brought it to me, and we met up, I was just blown away by it. The detail on this thing is just really beautiful. And I just want to commend Colin and Groovy G for going out of their way to make sure us nerds as belt collectors get a beautiful big gold, because they have dumped a lot of money, a lot of time away from family and friends to offer big golds for us. You know, this isn't cheap to make. I mean, well, I think we all know that by now. And the fact that these guys can dump 10 belts at a time, get 10 pre-orders, and make the belts and sell and all that stuff, it is amazing. And I cannot thank you guys enough for offering a $600 Groovy G Big Gold and then the C4 authentic belt. You guys are just pillars of this belt hobby for people who want a beautiful big gold. So thank you guys so much. I know I'm rambling, but seriously, there are so many like Pakistan makers out there that some of them do terrible, some of them do really good. But when it comes to big golds, to me, it's either the C4, the Groovy G, and right now it's the Shop Run. I think the Shop Run is really good as well. But just thank you guys so much for pouring all the time and effort and the money into resources to make beautiful belts. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you two don't know how much you guys come up on this program. The Groovy G, and I mean, it's all the time. You go back to somebody's always mentioned it. Oh, I love this one, and it's the top two ones. They're like, if you want the one that you can afford and build off of and make even more expensive, get the Groovy G. Then if you want the one that has all the bells and whistles made like the original, then you go with the C4. You guys are mentioned a lot on this program, and the reason you are is because when you do it the right way and you do it with love and you're doing it out of the love of the sport, and yes, everybody, it's a business and this, that, and the other, but when you first do it out of love, a lot of great things come about it, and people appreciate that. That's why a lot of people, I'm so thankful that, over 1,500 people have subscribed to this show, because it's a belt hobby show. It's about for people. It's about to keep people informed, to keep these great interviews that we've had, from wrestlers to figure photographers to collectors to belt makers. And we enjoy putting it on. And when you put something first, a labor of love, the results come from themselves, and it speaks for themselves. Ethan, you got a question for these guys? And anything? We're going to ask a couple questions from the chat, but anything that you want to know from these belt makers here, where we got them?
No, I think Steven hit it right on the head. I mean, just it's one of those things is like, you can always, you're always going to have your first opinion on a belt. And then, sometimes you look like an ass, sometimes you don't. But, for these guys and what they do and what they're making and the price points that they're setting, so you have something for everybody, which is a phenomenal thing. But you're still not sacrificing the quality, because the quality coming in at a $600 crumb rind is fantastic. And then obviously you have the C4, which is the C4. So, I mean, it's nice you get a combo of both, and just, hats off to you guys for the work you guys are doing. Just trying to keep the hobby chugging. Yeah.
And if somebody's not hating on you, you're not doing something right. When you get negative things, it's because jealousy. People, humility is lost in this world. And it's the thing that I close the show with all the time, is to be safe and to be humble. If you can just be humble in life, a lot of things take care of itself. And these are two humble guys, and we're appreciative of what you two do. And we're going to talk with Colin a little bit more here. He wanted to say a few things, but we also have Colin coming up on our April 9th show. He will be joining us to talk about some more C4 things that are going on. He's also going to talk on that he is going to be in Playgirl magazine with his C4, and he is going to be modeling it. We're going to talk about that on April. It's like, God, you're going to get me in trouble with the wife. And Nikki James is going to be on the photo shoot with him. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But Groovy G, you wanted to ask a question. So if everybody's ready, we want to ask this question about giving away this belt. Yeah, look at this panel of guys. We got a YouTube legend. We've got the bully of the hobby, Ethan, up here. We got C4. We got Groovy G. Just a spectacular group of guys. And I kid with Ethan. Ethan's one of my good buddies in the hobby. And that belt that he's holding up right there, he's going to be mailing me that tomorrow. We're going to take out that.
I need that belt.
I need that belt.
This is actually a classic Shields one based on the Leather Rebels one. On my podcast, I don't show a lot of bootlegs. I've had bootlegs before, and even the top stuff coming out of Pakistan now, there'll be CS and ORM. I think there's a couple of other guys as well too. Their etching of the Pakistani plates are just as deep as American etched plate, but they're not as crisp. Not as crisp.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is.
It's up to you. That's all the price point as well too.
Yeah,
I will show you another belt. Sorry, if I can just.
That's fine. Grab that belt. Mark is right.
Here's another bootleg.
Yeah, you've got these two people here that make a belt, but yet they're able to understand and show positivity. You can, just like I say, watch all the other podcasts. I don't mind. I'm not going to tell people just to watch mine and mine only, or don't watch mine and mine. We talk about many podcasts on there, just like with belt makers. You can have humility and you can show, and that's one thing that people have that are other belt makers that I see that are down these two guys because they're belt makers and they're jealous and they've got a stake in it. So they want to put down something to make more money. But like I've always said, when you stand on somebody's shoulder to make yourself look taller, you're a piece of crap really in life. And you can't understand that. But yeah, these two are good friends and they work to push each other better. And they offer two completely different products under the same umbrella. Go ahead there, bud.
Sorry, I just wanted to show you real quick. This is a 3D big gold. You know how I said, I've always wondered if the Pakistanis have got this access to these 3D CNC machines, why not make a 3D big gold? So that's Alt Air belts, Alt Air belts, Ali Arnes. I'm not a what are they, middleman, or I've got no financial arrangement with him or anything. That's my latest pickup. That's why I just wanted to show that off as well too. Believe it or not, I do have an outstanding order with Jamar, so I believe that gets me off the hook for having one of these naughty bootlegs.
It looks great.
Beautiful.
Looks great. All right, Groovy G. So you wanted to ask a question. I got to figure out how to do this. It's got to be the first right answer that comes in. Correct? Is that's what we want to do?
We do. Well, it's up to you, Kevin. It's your show. But I've dressed up as a wrestler here, hoping to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, before we ask the question, I think that's the right way to do it. Let me get all through the comments real quick here. Yeah, he does have great taste in Dome Globes. Yeah, he does. It is nice. You guys have been fantastic in the chats. I appreciate so many of you jumping in and you guys are a part of the show when you comment. I appreciate that. It's spectacular. What's up, Matthew? How you doing there, buddy? Yes. Yep. So the question, we might need to ask a different question since people have been putting and yelling out Nick Aldis and whatever to be fair for everybody and this, that, and the other. Groovy G, why don't you ask something that we've discussed tonight that people have been watching? Ask a question about that. The first one that gets it right, and I'll be watching the chat, and it'll all be logged in here, and I'll take a picture of it too just to prove. Why don't you ask the question to give away this belt, and go ahead with that.
All right. So the wrestler and the faction that he was a part of can be one wrestler and the faction that they were a part of. Anyone
That's dressed up as?
Sorry?
That you're dressed up as?
Yeah.
Name the wrestler and the faction that he was a part of, the ring gear that he's wearing right now. Let's see who gets it. Bam! We got a winner right there.
There we go. Andy,
you are the winner of the big time belt. Absolutely spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Everybody give it up for Andy.
You have to decide now, Andy, are we going all gold or dual plated? I've only got a couple of these in at the moment. So you might be the holder of the only dual plated Groovy GB gold left on the planet. So you'll have to make that decision.
I want to make sure everybody in the chat saw that too. I'm looking on Facebook. It is the first one that came through. It was just after Matthew Sparks comment at 10:53. If I need to take a picture of it, I was. I don't think anybody's disputing it. But Andy, you are the winner with that comment. And then, boy, you were quick because everybody knows their stuff. They were right after. Congratulations, Andy. Absolutely. Give him a round of applause. Throw up those DDKs or these rock and rolls. That's what we love to see here. Absolutely. Andy is Andy. What's your last names? If you don't want to put it up there, is this which Andy is this? Andy, we don't know which Andy. Is it Andy Bolger? No, can't be. Bolger has his last name right here, is it?
We'll figure Andy out. We'll sort you out, Andy. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll get it. You just how do you want him to get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. There's Andy. Just message Groovy G, and he will get your information.
Yeah, shoot me an email, buddy. Groovy G Replica Belts at outlook.com.
And let's give a thanks, everybody, please. Put up a right now thanks to Groovy G in the comments for doing that. That was spectacular for him to do. We'll give him a jolly.
He's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny. Oh, yeah!
Absolutely spectacular. Spectacular. That's awesome. Everybody thank him for doing that. Is there anything that you guys in the last 5 minutes wanted to talk about here or to say? Colin, you had a couple little things that you might want to reveal what we'll talk about on April 9th for people to tune into?
Oh, well, I was hoping April 9th will have a bit of a panel happening so we can get a bit of...
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Groovy,
okay.
if you're a part of it.
Groovy.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah, get Daniel Ripley back. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get up with Daniel Ripley and get him in here. We'll have you on for the first 15 minutes to talk about anything new with C4 and what's going on with C4. And then we'll do a panel discussion with you guys on April 9th. We'll get Ripley, Groovy G, and whatever. And we can do that now because it's on a Friday. It would be this same time. We do 8 p.m. So that would be, I guess, Sunday, 1 p.m. for you guys, right? Yeah.
Something along those lines, I think so. Yeah.
It's Saturday here at the moment.
Saturday.
When we started at 9 p.m. Here, it was 9 p.m. at night. Was what, Saturday 1 p.m. there?
No, it was about 11.
11 12. Yeah.
Okay.
11, 12.
All right. Okay. So it'll be 8 p.m. because that's when our new start time is for our show, and it'll be a little bit easier for you guys, and we'll have fun. And yeah, I'll put up a panel and get some guys on there. And is there anything that you wanted to add for that there, Colin, about tonight?
No. Yeah. Well, I'm working through the next batch of deliveries of belts and things.
I'd let Groovy G pick for you and have it as a surprise. That's my.
Yeah.
And then I'd want a pair of Groovy G's underwear mailed in there too. I think that's just spectacular too.
Well, that's getting off topic there and a bit. Yes, a bit past your. What was that, parental guidance PG rating?
Yeah, it is. Everybody thinking Groovy. But do you have anything? What's up and new that we can talk about for the first 15 minutes of the April 9th show, Colin?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, probably a couple developments I'm working on. I've got some exciting leather as well coming in.
Awesome.
Yeah, so again, because I'm very close with the leather industry here in Australia, and that dovetails to leather around the world as well. Because there's probably our cows, but the tanneries are overseas, so we have a lot of connection with that. And I was able to get a batch of some very special leather from for military grade, like military straps and things. So yeah, I'll probably show you some of that. And there's also some custom work, particularly, not everyone can afford, $4,000 worth of belt. And also there's another thing I was thinking that, well, when you love these silversmith types of belts all the time, you kind of want to have something like you want to be able to wear yourself and like a proper buckle and things like that. So that's another thing in development. I think I've just made one, a custom made one, basically for Jared, Jared Gonzalez, Sensational Sherry's son.
Yes.
So we made a special sensational sherry style belt buckle so he can keep his mum close with him.
Yeah, say a prayer for him. He's going on. He's had some major health issues here. Say a prayer for him. If people don't know, he's the son of Sensational Sherry. He's gone through some medical emergency, some health emergency. He's doing good. He's posted on his thing. So say a prayer for him. Cool guy, very humble guy, and keeping his mom's legacy alive. And he's fighting actually to try to stay alive. Had a health scare, but he's doing good. He says.
Yeah. So and then also along the lines of caring for people, particularly the original makers of belts and things like that. I could give a little bit of a hint of how we're doing with well, actually, you might have pieced a couple of things together. Both Groovy and me are willing to looking after the people we knew and love.
Yes,
and
Reggie Parks.
Right there. So to be able to look after Reggie's loved ones and things like that, there's a lot of work in the background between Groovy and a little bit with myself to prepare for our next batch of C4 Groovy G presents.
Yeah, it's spectacular. We've talked about it a little bit. We can talk a little bit more on April 9th when you guys come back on and discuss it. I think it needs to be done to protect what's being protected and to help out him and his family. Some not so great things happened after Reggie passed, and it's unfortunate. But it's great that you guys are picking up with that and working with the right people to do that. I think it's absolutely spectacular, and I'm excited for what's to come. And we'll get you guys on to talk about that. I know Colin is one of the nicest people I've ever met in this hobby. We have conversations there about every other day or every day sometimes, and he's a great human being. I am glad to have gotten to know Groovy G, good guy in this hobby too. And we want to see all those Groovy Gs, and he's a part of all the groups. He posts up in Wide World. He posts up he posts up everywhere, and that's what we like to see. Colin does too. Make sure you join. Groovy, you're an admin of what group? Aren't you an admin in the group?
No, I'm not an admin in any group. I've got my own Groovy G belt podcast page. I don't really visit that often, to be honest, but I'm on all the other groups.
Please look at Groovy's page. His YouTube. That's probably the most accurate history of the most iconic belts that you collect. So yeah, that's probably number one if you really want to know about belts.
And that sort of came about because I had collected the things that I wanted to collect, and that I thought anyway, there's no point in me just staring at these belts. I want to take some photos, take some videos, and share them with people. So all the belts that you see on my podcast they're all my own belts. Apart from a couple, there's a couple of a mate of mine, Keith, lent me a couple. But like I said before, all of the Reggie Parks belts that are on there, apart from the Winged Eagle, they were all made through the original artwork, off the original artwork, and I found an etcher for him, and so just being able to preserve that legacy as well too now. I guess that's what Colin was hinting at as well. There's a lot of things going on at the moment, but there are some exciting times ahead for belt collecting. Let me just say that. Colin said before, I'm pretty modest at the best of times, but this is something that people will get excited about.
Yes,
I'm excited about it.
I'm trying to hold on, even though I'm in hospice care. I'm trying to hold on to make it out and see all this come to fruition. So, you guys got a good leather guy over there. Do you know Chris Simmons over there in Australia too? Talk about a phenomenal leather guy over there. I've had some of his work and some of his stuff. Great guy too. So check him out and give him a follow on the work that Chris Simmons does on his stuff. He's a great guy. Also, what are y'all doing? Share some of them great guys with us over here, man. Come on. But
you got plenty of good guys over there too.
Oh, that's plenty.
Yeah, we got a lot of keyboard warriors too. We have a good time on the show, and I'm appreciative of Groovy. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Your $10,000 check is in the mail. I hope it doesn't bounce when you get it for coming on this program. Colin, I know you're a great family man and taking the time out to come on here and spend a little time. I can't wait for April the 9th. So make sure everybody, you guys put that in there, April 9th at 8 p.m. You know, we're going to Saturday on this show. Saturday, we've moved to Saturday on this show. And just to let everybody know what we're doing, just take a look at this because we're getting ready to end here in just a minute. Take a look at this. That's right. Saturday nights, Double Dropkick News, starting next week with our first guest on our first Saturday show, Wrestling World Express. You want to be in tune for that. And then after that week, we have AJ Giddings will be on the program on March 29th. And then we've got coming up Colin on April 9th. So it's going to be a packed show. We've got all new interviews, all new things, some great new little segments and all that. It's going to be a great, great time. We thank each and every one of you for all the support that you've done for us out there. We've loved having you a part of the program and getting us over 1,500 subs. Yes, this program is success, is all you guys, and we thank each and every one of you so much for that. But I want to let you guys get out of here. Is there anything that you wanted to say before we get out of here? I'll leave the final word for you, Groovy. What you got?
I've got two things that I want to say. Maybe just little brain worms. One is WrestleMania's coming up. They always do those WrestleMania belts, and then people flip them on eBay for ridiculously exorbitant prices. What about this year? As a belt community, we set a price about how much people should be paying to sell on these replica belts that they bought at WrestleMania. Yes, people are going to go out of their way, but what's the price going to be? Can we add an extra $200 on top? Is an extra $300 on top fair? I think people charging exorbitant rates for these belts there that they're not even interested in belts is a real bad thing for the hobby, and it's a bad thing for collectors because at WrestleMania shows they stop people buying multiple belts now because people are just buying them to flip on eBay or on the belt forums. So I think as a community we should come together and think about what is a reasonable price that a scalper should be charging for one of these WrestleMania belts. The second brain worm I want to put in people's heads: Ultimate Warrior's yellow IC. On the tip, there was something written on there. I've got no idea what it is. If you can find out, there's a little bit of homework for you. If you can find out, can someone please let me know?
I have a very sneaky suspicion. I've narrowed it down to a little tiny relief piece that had a certain writing on it.
I always thought from the pictures that I took, it was just a squiggly thing that's on there, that it wasn't really anything written on there.
There's a little relief piece that was on several.
It says this belt belongs to Kevin.
Several belts around that time. I don't know if Reggie was doing it on purpose or not, but there were some tag belts that had a relief piece on there. There was a couple other belts that had a little, not like the big Andre Hogan one. It was just a little, probably 1 millimeter thick little piece.
Yeah, it was teeny tiny. It looked like a little trophy piece. Do you know what's on? Do you know what's on it, Groovy? Have you ever seen a better picture of it?
I've never seen a better picture of it. I've heard reports. It says could say either WWF or Ultimate Warrior. I don't know.
I always thought it was WWF inverted, going from vertical to side, up and down. That's what I honestly always thought it was WWF.
I've seen some of those ones. It's not actually a. I've seen some with WWF.
I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. From what I found, it is.
Yes, something like that. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it's WWF vertical. See, up and down. WWF. That's what I thought it was.
Tiny little relief piece.
Yep. Yeah. That is actually not. I mean, that's done with his. Put that up there again. If you can see, that's done with his hand tools. Those leather tools. He used those to type that in there because you can see the curve of the curve. See the curve in it. That's not an actual letter. He's making those letters out of using the tool and hitting it and creating that WW. See that? Because even the F's curved, and I always thought that was pretty cool.
Well, there you go. I've learned something today. Always learning something in the hobby. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to let you two guys get out of here while we close out the show. Groovy G, thank you so very much for all that you've done and giving away a belt tonight. That was so humble of you and kind of you. I thank you so very much for doing that. Colin, thank you so much for taking the time on here. I can't wait to speak with you again. So good to see you, Colin. You always have a warm and inviting smile. Such a humble person. Thank you so much for your time jumping on here and supporting this show. We appreciate it, buddy.
My pleasure, guys.
Thank you guys so much. Everybody, give them up in the chats. Thank you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. How awesome was that?
Fantabulous.
What two great people of the hobby to have on there. What a spectacular show, from going from an hour and a half show to over 2 hours now. How spectacular was that? I hope, you guys enjoyed. Yeah, like on the tag belt.
And a belt giveaway.
Yeah, and a belt giveaway. Yeah, and we didn't let that know them beforehand. And there's a reason with that. Last time when we did the giveaway show was so big. There was so many in there that don't watch the podcast regularly. And so you never know when. You always need to tune in because you never know when we're going to give away stuff. We've been doing it left and right here, and we'll continue to do it away. We've got our 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Even though we're at 1,500, we're going to do another belt giveaway for that. We got some more leather products to give away with that. We're going to have some little figure belts to give away with that. So you got to tune in each time and be a part of that. That's why we moved to Saturday, to try to be able to get some of you more live. So if you guys are watching this afterwards, we thank you so very much. Still being tuned about it. You'll always know what's coming on if you'll go to Double Dropkick podcast on Instagram right here. You'll know what's coming up on the shows as well as on X at DDK Podcast on X. Be sure to check out those and follow that. I'll also give a shout out, and you got to give a follow and watch all the great reviews this guy's been doing for a very long time. Stephen Hammer Wrestling Belt Reviews. Go give him up a follow over there. Go follow Ethan Thompson's page as well. He's done some reviews over there. Just type in Ethan Thompson on Facebook and check them out. Also, check out the guys that do a great show on Thursday night, Spinning the Globe podcast on Wide World of Belts YouTube page. Check them out. Also, check out C4AuthenticBelts.com. Also, check out Groovy G and all the belts that he was doing. Make sure you go and visit all his stuff over there. And make sure you go back and support the guy. Go order a belt from him. Go buy a belt. Groovy G, ReplicaBelts.com. Go and check him out and all the stuff that he's done. Go give him a follow. Go give him a share. Go thank him on the program. If you're watching it afterwards, go thank him for coming on those shows, and that you want to see him be a part of more shows. And we're going to have him again. He's graciously accepted to come on to the April 9th show. We'll have more discussions about the stuff and how they got involved and talk some wrestling, because we didn't get involved in think what a Groovy G thinks of wrestling today, as well as Colin, and we'll talk with both of them about that and wrestling today and belts and the hobby, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a great time. You guys got anything to add before we get out of here?
I think you've slayed it.
Guys, give it up for my main man, Ethan Thompson and Stephen Hammer. Love you guys so very much. We'll see you guys again soon. And Ethan will be back on our show next Saturday. We don't have a show this Tuesday. Remember, no show this Tuesday. So we'll see you 1 week from, not today, but tomorrow. I'm still thinking it's Saturday for some reason. But we'll see you next Saturday, March 22nd, 8 p.m., our new date and time right here on Double Dropkick Podcast. That is our new date and our new time to be a part of the program. Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Saturday nights are now DDK night. We thank so much all of you out there that's been a part of this show, that make this show what it is. You guys are absolutely spectacular to me, and I thank all of you for all that you've done. I appreciate it. Everybody type in the chat, good night to everybody. I thank you so much for this show. Thank you so much for supporting it. I love each and every one of you. You make this show so very fun. I can't wait to get back with you guys next week. We're going to have a fun. We're going to have a big time guest. It'll be fun. Wrestling World Express next week. So you guys stay kind, stay humble, and we'll see you next week, Saturday, for Double Dropkick Podcast. Good night, everybody.